Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela O'Hare, your favorite Las Vegas realtor, and of course,
I'm Rob Howe.
the Rockstar Realtor, right?
Yeah, Rockstar Realtor.
So it's been a minute since we've seen each other. Actually, surprisingly, I was doing a video of a house before you went to tennis just 2 weeks ago now, right?
Yeah, that was.
I did a video of a house and Rob and his client pops out. I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool that we were showing the same house.
Yeah.
I take it your client wasn't interested in that house?
Not that one.
Yeah.
It backed to us that street there. So that was
right.
That was a problem.
So welcome everyone. Today we're going to be going over September 2022 numbers. And boy, it's a shocker for me, but there's a lot that I want to discuss in this video today. So of course, it's going to be a long one and the dogs don't like it. Hold on. Rob, tell us what happened with your weekend, and I'm going to let my dogs inside so they're not barking.
Oh, I'm on my own here, folks. Hang on. We got dogs coming in. Okay. So this weekend and last weekend, I went to USTA National Championship nationals. Basically, they call it nationals. And
for tennis.
For two different tennis teams, the 18 plus, which means 18 years and older, and the 40 plus, which means that I'm over 40 and I play in an over 40 league. And both of them we won.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was, the first one was kind of like we had a monster, really good team. A lot of young kids, very, very good players. And I was a big part of that too. But this one last weekend I was a huge part of because I played every match.
Oh, wow.
Six matches, 2 a day. And I went 5-1 with and did really well on a team. We barely scratched it out. It was unbelievable. It was that was really when you really barely win like that, it's just that.
So that one was this past weekend was in Denver, right?
One was in Surprise, Arizona. Mm-hmm. Which is a cool thing for me because my grandparents lived in Sun City, Arizona, which is right there. That's where I learned how to hit a tennis ball. And then the other one was in Scottsdale, Arizona, which I briefly.
Oh, so they both were in Arizona.
Yeah.
I thought one was in Colorado.
Well, that was the sectionals. And
okay.
So there's quite a bit that it
takes much to keep up for me.
It takes a lot to get to where we went. And, it's all self-motivation, but then you have partners that work together and the team was so great.
That's awesome.
Was great. Yeah.
Well, I haven't been up to much except for, if anyone has noticed, I've been posting a buttload of videos every day. So with everything going on with new construction, and I kind of, I've been posting videos every day or every Monday for 4 years now.
Wow, 4 years. Gee.
For 4 years, I've never missed a Monday. However, because of what's going on, like this summer, I kind of didn't post as many, or I did the videos, but I just kind of took a break. With that said, I went out last month and recorded all the new home communities in Sky Hill, Skye Canyon, Sunstone, and Summerlin. So till the end of this month, I'm going to have a video every day on a model home. And I felt it was important to do these videos because, and we're going to get into it in the numbers of what's going on with new construction and builder incentives. So now I'm going to also be posting, once those videos are done, I've been doing neighborhood drive-through tours. I'm focusing in the Northwest first, North Las Vegas, Northwest, and then working my way down. I have a new website called neighborhoodsinlasvegas.com. So ideally, I want to do a neighborhood tour of all the neighborhoods in Las Vegas and attach it to my website.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's quite, you're biting off a big piece there.
Yeah. When I'm productive, I start getting busy. So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep. But I'm sure you guys don't want to hear about our personal life. You want to know what happened last month. And
what did happen?
Believe it or not, the numbers were surprising on my end. I'm sure on your end as well.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
So what's going to happen is we're going to go over the numbers. We're going to go over interest rates, and we're going to talk about new construction because that's my big thing. and new construction is where it's at, in my opinion, right now. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's roll. So Ron says, always eager to hear the news. Hi, Michael. When's your home going to be done over there in Arroyo's Edge, right? All right. So first numbers we're going to go over is the number of closings. So there were, let's put my glasses on, 2030 single family homes that sold in the month of September, which is actually up 1.4% from the prior month, but down 36.7% from the prior year. So believe it or not, we did have a slight increase in sales last month.
Yeah.
But
that was surprise number one.
Surprise number two,
Mm-hmm.
the medium sales price. The medium sales price remained the same from the month before.
Yeah.
It remained at $450,000.
Definitely the opposite of what we thought.
Which
I mean, not necessarily the opposite, but just not
opposite of what we had predicted.
Well, the opposite would have been gaining, obviously. But,
Yes.
But short of gaining, which we knew wasn't going to happen, the fact that it even just stayed the same was pretty striking.
Yeah. Well, I was super busy, so I kind of felt that the numbers were going to at least stabilize. And here, this is proof in the pudding, well, at least for the month of September, that the market was stable.
Well, yeah, I think there were a lot of people that, sorry, oh, that's yours. Okay, cool. I think there were a lot of people that were trying to scooch in and get before these interest rate movements.
Mm-hmm.
And, agents have been getting the news out to their clients that they can do certain things like building in your closing costs that can help you buy down your rate in your offer. So then that allows the seller to, a lot of times the sellers will say, okay, well, we'll give you these, but we want our number. And
right.
So that number, I think during that month was held up. The sellers held the line. That's certainly stronger than I thought, just because the trend was going so sharply down. And I will say that even if you look at most people, if you look at your home on Zillow, it's going to show a monthly decline. That it is showing that for people like, if you're in the roughly 300,000, 350,000, you're losing 10,000 a month. That's what it's showing right now.
But as we know, we don't follow what Zillow says.
Right. And that's a great point, because that's not what happened in the median home price for last month.
I think Zillow is just trying to stay ahead of the game and predict what's going to happen, but doesn't mean what's really happening. Zillow is never accurate.
And to be fair, we weren't either.
True.
We felt the trend just like Zillow did, that it was going down. But, listen, it's a couple of things. One thing that I had said a while back, I don't know if I talked to you about this, but I said it on some of my videos, which was that I thought we might be in a strange territory of basically being in a recession, yet still having relatively low inventory in the housing market, which would create a relatively stable housing market.
Right.
Now, this was prior to a lot of the bigger rate movements that started happening. Mm-hmm. So then I started changing my tune, going, wait a minute. But it is showing that maybe at least for now, that is true. We are in a lower inventory still, even though it's technically a buyer's market, right? Or technically a buyer's market, but not by the numbers. And we're seeing the strength that that you wouldn't have anticipated,
Right. Yeah. And, which I have been doing for the last few market updates, I always like to reiterate what the median price was for the last 2 years before. So in January 2022, the median price was at $435. We're at $450. We're hanging in there.
Yeah. It went all the way to $485, right? That was the height.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So then September 2021, the median price was at $406,500. And then September 2020, it was, I messed up. I didn't change that. September 2020 was $337,250.
Yeah.
So we're still.
Yeah, no, that's the good news for most people. Listen, you have to change some of your parameters. If you think that we're at the 485, we are not. We're sliding back from that, and we did, and now, but we held ground for a month.
Yes,
held ground.
We held ground.
That's great. That's great news. That shows that there is strength. The Fed may not like it. I don't know.
Well, my thoughts are, and I have advice to sellers, and I think I'll wait to hold off on that advice once we get closer to the new construction.
Okay.
Because I've been out and about. I've been super busy showing resale and new construction. Well, I'm going to say it right now.
Okay.
While I'm thinking about it.
All right.
All
No
right.
cliffhanger.
All right. So my client wanted to look at resale homes and they wanted to look at new construction homes. My client and we both came to the realization that in reality, because of all the builder incentives, all of these buy down, 2-to-1 buy downs, closing costs, yada, 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 it was smarter to buy new construction, a new home, than it was to buy a resale home, because the sellers can't touch what the builders are offering. Yes, they can say that they're going to offer some closing costs. And yes, they can say they'll offer some buy down points. But in reality, they can't compare. My client bought a home in North Las Vegas, Queensbury, Lennar. It was listed at 604. We got it down to 549. And he got 31,000 towards buy down and closing costs.
Nice.
You can't beat that with a stick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a couple of things go through my mind. Is number one, that the new home pricing is flexible. That's good.
Yes.
So there are some of these that are going to be flexible on that.
Willing to negotiate.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously they are doing their best to compete with resales. That's what they're competing. They want to get that business in, and that is smart on the builder's part. This is a cue that every seller, whether it's, every seller that's not a builder, which is most people, right, should take, which is that what they're trying to do is get this done now. They're trying to get sales done now, because what they know is here is where we can expect to get value at, right? Mm-hmm. What they don't know is what's coming around the corner and how much more they might have to drop back. So they would prefer to get these deals done now. And then if things get better in the next several months, which is a good possibility, especially go into next year, it's kind of 50-50 on how things are going to really go. That's why we'll talk some more about that. But then they're getting the deal done. It's sealed. It's done. They're not going to worry about it anymore. They'd rather do that. As a seller that has to sell right now, I think you should take that approach. You should get what you can get, so that you don't have to worry about like losing on the other side. Now, I don't think we're going to have some more declines just because we had another interest rate movement,
right?
And because of I think the perspective of buyers that are out there.
But my point of this too, as a seller, your negotiating days are over. On all honesty,
oh right.
I mean, with very few offers coming in, the offers that you do get, don't expect to ask what your terms are going to be. Maybe you can ask for some things, but more than likely, I mean, especially when you have a cash deal. So I have a seller, mm-hmm. and we got an offer. We had the house listed at $450. The offer is $425. And this house has solar, pool, needs a lot of updating. I think this is a solid cash offer, asking for no closing costs, but my seller wants to counter at a higher price. And so I think we're going to lose that deal, because one, it's not a seller's market anymore, where the seller has the power to negotiate.
It really depends on that cash buyer, but most cash buyers are going to go, you know what, if I can't get a deal right now, I'm going to move on to the next one that I can.
Or it's our first offer. It's been on the market for 3 weeks. The next offer may be a finance person who's going to ask for $425.
Yeah.
They're going to ask at $425, but now this time they're going to ask for closing costs.
Yeah.
So now you're
fighting to gain background and say, okay, well, what I'll do is that. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to advise your clients to really think strongly about taking that offer. But look, I don't think a counter is like, oh, look, if they're not serious enough to handle at least having some negotiation, then the buyer probably isn't serious. But they have to be within reason and understanding of what the value is for them. They can get this done and sold in probably 15 days on that cash offer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's valuable right now.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get back to the numbers.
A lot to assess.
My advice is sellers that's my key advice throughout this video is that your negotiating days are over, unfortunately.
And really it comes down to your need as a seller. Do you need to sell? Well, then you better make it happen. Just make it happen, because if the more that you say, try to do what you're saying, which is negotiate, stand on, I got this strength that I'm going to stand on, I think the more that you might miss out on getting your top dollar right now.
Right. Because as the months go by,
the
interest rates are going to keep on going up.
We don't know.
Well,
right?
More than likely it will. And as the interest rates go up, the values are coming down.
The bottom line is work with known quantities. That's what I like to try to do.
Right.
Like when you have something that is known, which is known right now, this is what you can get. I don't know what's coming up in the next several months. Work with a known quantity, get it done.
Right. All right. So let's go over condos and townhomes.
All right.
They actually had an increase
of inventory too. Yeah.
Oh, we still got a lot to go over. We're still in the median price for condos and townhomes. So for the median price in condos and townhomes, it went from $264,900 to $270,000. So they had a slight increase, a $5,100 dollar increase in median price at 1.9% from the month before and 17.4% from the prior year.
Yeah.
So that's saying something.
That's surprising. Yeah. I think that's because of the value at that level. And also, again, the sellers are packing in a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which is that closing costs,
Right.
So they're getting their number or roughly close to it. But they are packing in some incentives,
right?
Which is what the builders are doing. And all of this is very smart right now.
But the thing with the builders is they're offering offers. They may be accepting prices lower than the asking price, plus all those other incentives.
Yeah.
Some sellers will I'm not going to negotiate on price, but I'll give you the closing costs.
I would say the build, again, known quantity. The builder is a known quantity of what you can go to and get from them. And with each individual house that's being sold by an individual owner, you don't know what each one is going to be able to give you. You can maybe make some assumptions that you can get certain things done, but not as easily as going to a builder that this is what they're offering. Bam.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
So that makes sense. Do you want to answer that? Or
yeah, you can.
Okay. Appraisal values are appraisal values dropping too. I haven't seen that yet. Naturally, when you have contracts that are coming in lower than maybe what they can appraise value, they'll kind of start, you're not going to see them come in under that because they have the comparable sales.
Well, for new construction, are you talking about resale?
No, I'm talking about anything. Yeah.
True. But I know a lot of these appraisers are also taking into the fact of the current market.
Sure they are, but they have the comparables within the last 6 months to show that they can do that. And actually, this month staying at 450 is another good deal for appraisals to stay rough. You're not going to have, saying 6 months from now, even if we have a declining market a little bit more, you're still going to have comparable sales that would be from this time.
But I think a lot of the appraisers are mainly going over the last 3 months, even though technically they should go the 6 months because the 3 months are more indicative of what's been going on with the market.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. But I guess my point is so far I haven't seen any issue on it.
Right. Yeah. And also for me, the bulk of my clients are cash buyers, so they don't really have to deal with appraisals. Yeah. I mean, we did buy a house last month in Passeos, and the house was appraised accordingly. So there was no issue with that.
One thing I have seen, which is interesting, is the appraisers are doing more where they have to go back. They're calling out more conditions. Mm-hmm. This is interesting because appraisers were so busy, they didn't want to call out conditions before. And they would maybe overlook some smaller ones that weren't a big deal. And now they're like, yeah, you know what? I'll go out and make that extra buck on going back out for this revisit.
Right.
So, sellers, agents should be advising their sellers to get all that stuff done ahead of time so that you don't have to lose that time. The appraisers might be a little more stringent now that they're not as busy.
Very true. So then that brings us to the luxury market. And last month in September, we sold 97 homes compared to August 110 homes. So that was a 13 home decrease. And then the median price also decreased. It went from 1.3999 to 1.27383. So that was 122, a little over 122,000 decrease in median price in the luxury market.
So the luxury market has continued to have an interesting trend.
It's been up and down.
Well, it's sort of wavering. It's coming and going a little bit.
Right.
But what's one of the trends that I'm for sure seeing is that we're not seeing a ton of inventory go on the luxury market. It's like as if all those people got the message and they're like,
yeah, I don't need to sell.
I don't need to sell right now. I'm not going to, go in on when, so until enough time goes by that those people are like, you know what, maybe I do want to sell. They're just, that market might be a little shorter on inventory.
Right.
That's what I'm seeing, at least. I like my client that you saw me with. We've been looking for a type of property, and there just aren't hardly any, as you know, for your client.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and you do have those. We still have those cash buyers out there, or those very well qualified buyers.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's very limited inventory for those buyers.
And they are the good ones. They are sucking it up. I still get calls on properties that are in escrow, going, hey, is this any chance this one's going to fall out?
Oh, wow.
That's telling me something right there, because that says that, hey, I'm digging around for my client and I can't find it.
Well, and also the ones that were on the cusp of the million mark probably have decreased in value.
Some of them.
So that's why it's not as big of a number as it was in months past, because everything's shifting downward.
Absolutely. That's a great point too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So,
hey, thanks, Ron. I appreciate it.
Market trends. All right. Now we're going to go over the number of new listings for last month. So in September, there was 3,376 new listings, which was down 15.8% from August, and also down 8.5% from the prior year. So to me, with that number being down, sellers are getting the message.
Absolutely. And we're also coming into the slower times of the year,
right?
After summer, you're meeting with traditional, usual sort of movements for our market, and the message of like, do I really want to go out there and get, put my property on the market right now?
Right. But for September 2021, there were roughly 3,600 new listings. So it's pretty much following in line with traditional listings.
But that was an anemic time too. So
right.
This is relatively anemic.
Yeah, very true. That's a good point. Gosh darn it. I put it on Do Not Disturb.
Decline.
Sorry, folks. So that was interesting.
This is really good as well.
Yes.
Another one where I've been sort of like backtracking a little bit, going, I was saying that maybe around November, by the end of the year, we might start seeing about 6 months of inventory. And then I started kind of creeping back on that because, it's really hasn't been I started thinking it would happen sooner.
Right.
And now I'm back to where I'm like, I think the original prediction was right. But
this is very indicative of a very stable right now market for the month of September.
Certainly.
So there are only 8121 units that were listed without offers for the month of September. Last month, that was 7997. So it was only like a 200 increase of homes. That's up 1.6% from the prior month, and obviously up 134.5% from the prior year. But to me, that is
that's a lot from last year.
That's a lot from last year, of course. But last year, you got to remember, we had a very anemic market. But so to me, all these numbers are, like I said, and I'm saying this throughout this video, is showing a very stable market.
Yeah, currently there is still strength. And I think a lot of this has to do with the power that sellers still have in their hands. And those sellers are the builders, like you said.
Right.
They can offer these incentives. In the last couple of years, the builders know they had a windfall.
Right. And if you are a seller, you got to have an open mind of having these buyers asking for all these closing costs, right?
Look, if you want to get it done,
Yeah.
if you want to live in reality, and that means that like I'm not just putting my home up and then I'm going to eventually withdraw it because I'm not getting any showings.
Right.
If you have your property overlisted, it's not going to work out. So you have to be able to say, well, what is going to help this work out? Right now, the buyers need help. They do. They are the ones that are getting hit in the jaw with
the higher interest rates. So when the interest rates increase, that lowers their purchasing power.
Lowers their purchasing power. And obviously, even if they can afford it, they now have higher mortgage rates mortgages by considerable amount compared to the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I mean, huge.
And some of these people are getting into the near 7s or around 7% interest rates, if depending.
I heard it'll be at least by 9% at the end of the year.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Well,
we'll see.
I'm predicting and maybe more hoping that they don't have another rate move this month, and they wait till next month. We'll see.
It's just ridiculous. I do not agree with this controlled recession at all.
Yeah, well, I don't agree that we had to get into this position.
Right. And I said this in my last video, and I am neither a Republican or a Democrat. I'm an observer. And when you're spending trillions of dollars overseas to help a country, but our country is in this economic recession, to me, that's something wrong.
Yeah. Well, there's a number of pieces to that puzzle. I would say that right now, okay, I probably said this before. I think the Fed, back when they didn't move rates back in probably October, November, December of last year, they should have moved. They should have started doing some rate movements. They didn't do that, in my opinion, almost for political reasons. The writing was on the wall.
Right.
But right now, it's funny because I do not believe there's any politics involved. They don't care about that, and they are trying to get a job done because they delayed too long.
But they're creating a recession.
But see, in order to not have a larger recession, that is why they're doing it.
I don't know. I still think they're making it worse than, I don't know. I just don't think
it's the idea. And listen, I'm just going to kind of.
You're not an economist.
No, absolutely. I'm going to parrot what I hear and sort of what I've been told throughout this and learned, which is that the idea is to have some pain on the front end so that we can have less pain on the back end. So you're going to have pain now, but if they didn't do these things, we'd have a much worse, more painful.
But how is the housing market inflated prices, I guess? I mean, how is, by controlling the housing market, controlling inflation?
So as I understand this, and listen, somebody could absolutely be able to educate us even further here if anybody would like to. But the housing market is such a big component to the American economy because when houses are bought and sold, obviously a lot of money is going all over the place, first of all. But second of all, what do you do when you buy a house? You
spend money.
You spend money. So if you want to generate economic boost,
right,
you get the housing market stirred up. That's how they do it. If you want to pull back on that, you slow it right down. And so what this does is on goods and services and things that have to do with the housing market. And it's not just the housing market. It's throughout anywhere that interest rates are involved. And
car buying.
Yeah, all kinds of places that this affects. So they're putting they're tamping down that activity.
Mm-hmm.
They're slowing it down so that there's maybe the supply chain can get caught up so that,
true,
a number of different things can start having less demand.
But it's a trickling effect because now construction worker layoffs because there's no homes to build. Lenders are getting, This
is the evil part of it. This is the pain.
So they're creating unemployment.
They want that.
Why?
Because in order, I know it's insane. Listen, I'm not going to be able to explain this in depth and detail, but it's just what I watch and concentrate on. People I listen to, they're saying that we need about 2 million jobs lost. We need to actually have higher unemployment.
So they want more homeless people. They want, more people making under $8 an hour.
It's very odd, but it is not. The part that probably disturbs most people is that it feels like all the people on the lower end of the spectrum are getting hammered.
Yeah.
And I believe that is true. I believe that people
Yeah,
that are
but
in
we're
rental
spending-
situations aren't getting any better off because they can't buy, and people, you know, they're being pushed out of buying. And then eventually, if people start feeling that pinch on, you know, employment, oh man, you know.
Well, too, and all of our, you know, anyway, never mind.
Yeah,
Let's
we
get
don't
to the
want to go
numbers.
too off on.
Let's get to the numbers. Anyway, folks, so this was another surprising number. The months of supply remained the same. It was at 4 months last month, and it's at 4 months this month, which is up 270.7% over last year, which we know because, as we know, last year that number was, I think I wrote it down, at 1.1. September 2021, the months of supply was at 1.1 months.
1.1 months, and with superb rates.
Yes, at rates at
So now
below 3%.
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand the balancing act. I think ultimately it needs to be a balancing act and not go from one extreme to the other extreme. I understand that we had to do the rate hikes, but do it in a more realistic manner. That's my thoughts.
Well, you and I would agree 100%. What we're looking for is healthy markets,
right?
You know, and so, you know, I hope that's what this creates. Again, I'm parroting some of my understanding about it, especially when I get into talking about unemployment. So I don't know, you know,
right.
It's a big fingers crossed. Nobody should be losing their jobs just because of what the federal government's doing. But the reality is it's a pretty big entity, and it can have some, you know, effect on that.
Yep. So that puts us at the time on the market. 56.8% of the closings closed 30 days or less. So that's the only huge drastic number that I saw. So what that is indicative of is that the homes are staying on the market a lot longer than 30 days.
Yeah.
All right. So the month before, in August, that number was 71.7, and the year before was 83.8%. So there's going to be a lot of hangover. And I think because of one, obviously, of course, the interest rates, but also the new construction competition. Yeah. Because you were always in competition with new construction, but it wasn't as, like, to me, very extreme.
Well, if you're a seller that has your prices, you know, where new construction looks like a deal compared to yours, that's just silly.
Right.
The resale should be lower than new construction. And we do have a little bit of like this happening, right? Where there's sellers that are just like, no, that's what the comp was. I'm going to sell it for that.
Right.
Well, you know, you're not.
Right. Just because the comp 6 months ago was that doesn't mean that's what the price really is valued at. And ultimately, the value of a home is what someone's willing to pay for the home.
Yeah. And we have a perception switch. Boom.
Right.
You know, that perception switch is pretty hard when you go, oh, a few months ago, I could pay this much for my mortgage. And, oh, now I can only, now I have to pay this much.
Right. So, yeah, we have some questions.
Yeah.
Now, Outdoors with Jeff says that he's contemplating selling the home that he just moved into because they're thinking of new construction Toll Brothers or TriPoint homes in Summerlin West overlooking Acadia Ridge. My thoughts on that is capital gains. Typically, you have to be in your home for 2 years
that's a good point.
when you sell it in order
good.
to not have capital gains. Okay. Then keep existing home and put it on the rental market. What do you forecast for the luxury market in the next 3 to 6 months? And they do want the employment rate to go up some. It's an odd mix to get things fixed and back on track. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So I think ultimately, if you can afford, I would put it on rent, the new home that they just bought.
I don't think you have the greatest choices there because of what Ange just mentioned, which is that number one, you maybe have to sell for less than what you bought it for.
True.
Depending on what you bought it for. And then number two, you may have to pay capital gains tax. Again, we're not CPAs,
tax advisors,
but it's something that we're pretty well aware of. And that was a great point for her to jump to right away. And then, so I think it ultimately pigeonholes you a little bit to the rental market. The rental market, I'd be careful with. I like what I see right now, but I wouldn't get overconfident, and I would definitely look to get a strong tenant in that maybe is going to be there for as long as possible.
Right. Make sure they can at least sign a 2-year lease or something.
If you can, I like that. I'd rather give somebody a deal and have them stick around for me than a really solid tenant than having to worry about getting
as long as they can
tenants.
make your mortgage payment and you're not concerned about making some
don't
profit and
don't push the profit too much right now.
Exactly.
That's my advice. Look, that's you can take that with a grain of salt, whatever.
But if you do buy in those areas, you know who to call, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, you want to read the next question?
Yeah. Let's see. I can't afford to lose my job. I hate what's going on. People will be homeless as if we don't have enough of those. Nobody can afford to lose their source of income. I don't know. I don't know what to say about the unemployment part of things. We aren't seeing it. Actually, the news recently was very good. Unemployment actually went down. The problem with that is
they're trying to get it back up.
The Fed is going to go, oh, not done yet.
Yep.
Bing.
I saw an article
harder.
in the RJ the other day about that exact same thing.
Yeah, that's the only problem is that anyway. So.
But how much money is these Feds making, right? They're making bank.
I don't know.
Just kidding.
What are you talking about? They make the money. They print it.
Right.
They got all the money. All right. Anyway. You want me to read this one?
Yeah.
There's a house near me that closed in June for $120K more than what the house next door is now listed for. Exact square footage and finish. It sucks for the person that closed in June.
Well, there's a caveat to that because that person in June probably got a really great interest rate. So even though they paid $120K more, yes, value-wise, if they stay in there longer, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They have probably the same monthly payment as the person that's selling it for $120,000 less.
Yeah, I would if you were a buyer and you bought when it was high, you have to ignore whatever's happening because ideally you bought knowing that things could change. You bought knowing that you were buying at a height and that you also got a very comfortable rate as far as your mortgage is concerned and things like that. So, long term, hopefully I tell most people if you're buying, look 3 to 5 years at least to be in a home right now.
Right.
I wouldn't advise people to be trying to get in and get out.
Real estate's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
It's up and down. It's a roller coaster. And
it's a general rule of thumb, stay in a home longer.
Right.
Don't just expect I'm going to buy a home and a year later have equity and sell it.
Well, of course, people were trained over the last 2 years of thinking that way, that they could buy a home, sell it, and make like $100,000 in equity. That was
a very big gambling.
Yes. So Lionel, what a time to tune in. Sorry, I am late. No worries.
No worry, Lionel.
Brandon, rather have a higher interest rate than be underwater. Well, again, as we said, it depends on how long you plan to be in the home.
Yeah.
Because the people that bought or had the recession in 2008, it took them a long time to finally get to what they paid for. Probably, I would say 2016, 2017 is when it took, for those people that bought in the early mid 2000s. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that's why they do 30-year loans, because they want you to stay longer than 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to go back up.
I don't think I would want to be underwater either, Brandon. But another thing I would point out too, some of these people put a lot of cash down, used a lot of cash. So what's really happening is that they have a lower mortgage than what is actually where we're going down to, but their cash is being eaten up. And that was the risk they took, unfortunately. Again, one of those moments where it's like, oh, geez, what do I do?
Right. Exactly. And then life journey.
What is the average mortgage interest rate right now?
Glad that you asked, because
we're going right to
it.
Yeah.
So this was as of last week. The average rate for a 30-year home was at 6.7%, which is up 3.01% from the year earlier.
Yeah.
So it is inching up to almost 7%.
Yeah. And that's the average. So that means there are some that are getting higher.
Depending on your credit score, your loan, the ratio, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
What's that called? The ratio?
Loan
to value?
Yeah. No, it's your debt to income.
Debt to income ratio. Yes.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yes.
You caught me. I'm like, ah.
So now we're going to get into builders.
They're building.
So what happened was a lot of these builders, and I'm only going to go over the builders that are offering incentives because a lot of the other builders didn't get on the same bandwagon. So Taylor Morrison, Century Communities, Polti, Lennar, let's see if I missed anyone, Toll Brothers, Richmond American, and some DR Horton homes. What happened was they wanted to have enough inventory to support this high, heavy, fast-hitting going market. Okay. So they spec'd out a lot of homes to get ready for this high, heavy, fast market, not knowing about what was going to happen. And two, a lot of these builders spec'd out these homes because of the supply chain issues. They wanted to make sure that they had move-in ready homes that were going to be ready 30, 60, 90 days. The only cap or the downfall was that you couldn't choose your options, but hey, you got a brand new home from and good locations from these builders. Yeah. So now with the interest rate hikes, a lot of these builders have a lot of inventory. And because all these builders are corporations, they want to get rid of this inventory by year's end to help with the numbers.
Got to make the stockholders happy.
Yes. Okay. So throughout the last 3 months, we have been going every market update, going over what incentives these builders are offering. Now, as the interest rates keep on going up, the interest rates, what they're offering are not going to be as good of a deal from 2 months ago.
No,
because you can only buy certain points down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, and that was the reason why I did or have been doing a lot of model home video tours, is because I think, in my opinion, resale, new construction, you're better off buying new construction. This is my opinion, but it's a no questions that new construction is where you can get some extreme deals. And yes, maybe they may reduce the prices, but they're not going to be able to honor a lot of those earlier interest rate 3.99. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does everyone understand what I'm saying? All right.
Well, they're going to have new rate locks that they
yes,
can honor.
But they're not going to be as low as the original rate
it's
locks
about 2% off of the of where it's at.
Right.
So you might get a 4.7
right
now.
So what did they say?
Okay. They feel better that they did a buy down. You were smart to do a buy down life journey.
Right. So we're going to get into all the builders that I know of personally that are offering incentives because they have a buttload of homes to get rid of. Okay. And the number one is Toll Brothers. Now they are offering their sales event and it ends today. So they didn't have any updated information as to what their new sales event is going to happen. But basically, if you buy a house by today, they have what's called the 2-to-1 buy down program. And this is going to be very common for builders. Mm-hmm. Can you see?
Yeah, no. I was just trying to remember Outdoors with Jeff. You better get going.
Going with what?
Because they wanted to buy Toll Brothers.
Toll Brothers. Yeah. Okay, so the 2-to-1 buy down program. So Toll Brothers is offering 3.99% the first year, 4.99% the second year, and then 5.99% from the third to 30 years. Okay. That's actually still 5.99 is better than almost 7%, right? There's a lot going on.
Yeah, sorry.
The only caveat is they have to be on the quick move-in homes and you have to be able to put 20% down. Now, what happens when these builders get rid of all these quick move-in homes? They're going to be becoming a more traditional market where you're going to buy from ground up. Mm-hmm. They don't have to get rid of it fast. So they're not going to be offering you as much incentives as they are now.
Yeah.
So the time to buy a new home is from now until the end of the year if they still have deals going on.
Yeah, I like that advice, especially if you are in a position where you need to buy. I think anything that you're looking to buy, you should be buying basically now till the end of the year, maybe touch in the beginning of the year.
Right.
We'll be updating you, obviously.
Yeah, but my advice is when you go to that new construction community, you need your agent, preferably one of us, with you on the very first visit, and you need experienced agents that knows how to negotiate.
Yeah, it's negotiating time.
It's negotiating time,
Yeah.
and you need someone that's going to be able to really negotiate for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? It's free to you.
Yes, we are free of charge.
Yeah.
We don't cost anything.
Yeah.
So are we going what?
So Outdoors with Jeff was asking about, are you seeing IG new construction coming in lower than
What's IG?
resale market? Seeing IG new, I don't know.
What's IG?
Instagram new construction.
Why are property taxes so much higher on new builds?
You take that one, yeah.
Well, typically, I'm sorry, are you hot?
It is a little warm.
Oh, there it goes. Typically, on a new construction build, the property tax is at approximately 1% of the total purchase price, because it's easier for the builders and everybody involved to figure out 1% than to figure out what tax rate that zip code is at.
Mm-hmm.
Because the average tax rate for Nevada or Las Vegas is 0.53%. Depending on where you live, it could be higher or it could be lower. So for new construction, instead of figuring all that out, 1% everywhere is just an easy to me thing.
Oh, you mean to have a like, here's an estimate of what you'll.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And sometimes it doesn't come to 1%. Sometimes it will fall under that 1%.
Yeah.
But the builders like to say approximately 1% because it's an easier guesstimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much more are the property taxes for new construction? Oh, we just went over that. Kind of. It depends. So a resale home that was built 10 years ago, say $600,000 resale home, your property tax may be around $3,000. For a new construction, $600,000 is going to be $6,000, so it's double.
Yeah, well, I mean, property tax is pretty low on resale, as far as your yearly property tax.
What now? I'm sorry.
Your property taxes is pretty low especially to
it's
other,
typically half of new construction.
Yeah, so $3,000. If you're paying $3,000 a year, it's a good sized house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New construction luxury market coming in cheaper than the resale luxury market. That's a good question. I know, like Overlook over there by TriPoint Homes, they have slowed down tremendously. Before in the past, they couldn't keep, they would release the lots and those lots were gone. And TriPoint, unfortunately, is not one of those builders that did all these spec homes. So they're not going to be offering a lot of good deals.
Yeah, I think it also depends. The luxury market is so vast. It can really depend on the area, and because you can buy in a nicer, newer luxury area, or you could be in like a little bit more of the older but awesome, very traditional, but might need upgrading. But they're very popular neighborhoods, very popular areas in the luxury market. So there's a lot of there's no reports
for us to see the difference, because the builders don't produce a report for new construction luxury homes.
It's like technically you could probably buy an older luxury home for less than certainly a new one, but you have to put in money to upgrade it. So that could be a thing. But then again, if it's in the right area that is a super hot spot that everybody wants to be in, even the ones that aren't upgraded are going for top dollar. So you have to, these are part of the things you have to dissect.
Exactly. So now the next builder is Taylor Morrison, and Taylor Morrison is offering from $15,000 to $50,000 towards reducing either the price of the home, or you could do a temporary buy down. Let me see. Let me just read my notes. Towards closing costs, permanent buy down, temporary buy down, which is the 2-to-1.
It's basically an arm.
Yeah, an arm, or enjoy a fixed rate for the remaining of the life. But they're also, that it just came out that I noticed that they have their fall savings, where any eligible home from now until October 31st, for a limited time, you can secure 5.99% 30-year interest rate for 2 years. Oh, no, it's not 30 years. 30-year fixed rate plus enjoy lower payments for 2 years. So, okay.
So for your first 2 years, you get lower payments.
Right.
Looks like they're telling you that.
Yeah, they're doing the 3.99 for the first year, 4.99 the second year, and 5.99 from 3 to 30. Same thing what Toll Brothers was offering.
That's attractive to a lot of people who might believe that the interest rate is going to come down after a little while. So that you'll get it, you'll pay 3.99, and then be able to maybe refinance in the future. So a little bit of a gamble to completely rely on that. I would definitely try to get my longer term as low as possible.
Right, because there are
affordable.
some lenders that are offering like 4.85 for 30 years instead of doing this 2-to-1 buy down. And then also,
I like that. I like hedging it like that.
But the 2-to-1 buy down too is, are they really going to come up with all this money to pay for that? Are you going to have to come up with that money, or is that builder going to offer that?
They should be offering.
Right.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if the interest rates are at 7%, how are they able to offer 3.99?
Well, that's why it's a temporary.
Oh, it's an arm.
It's an arm. So yeah. So but it sounds like it's fixed from 3 to 30 years at 5.99.
Right.
So you're getting in. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a terrible deal. So I'm sure there's some details.
But the question is, can a lender match this?
Many times they can.
They can.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they're also paying for the closing costs. Now, so the caveat.
So an outside lender is what you're saying.
Right.
Probably.
So an outside
that's where
lender.
It gets tough.
That's where it gets tough, because you're going to have to find a seller that's willing to pay for your closing costs, but then have a lender that's going to have these arm or have the buy down.
Yeah.
And you don't have to come out
That
of pocket
part
to buy down.
The closing cost part, they may not.
But the 2-to-1, the 3.9, 4.99, usually that comes out of the buyer to buy down those rates.
Yeah.
The builders are paying for that.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Well, with an arm, the lenders can do that.
Right.
They can do that. But a rate buy down, no, that's different. The money has to come from somewhere, and it probably has to come from the seller or yourself.
Right. And the seller.
Well, I mean, I think they're the ones that need. Again, you gotta be able to. This is where you need a good agent. You got to be able to spot the sellers that are gonna be able to work with you, and get what you need for your client.
Well, the reality check, again, I'm gonna say this throughout this video, is there are hardly any negotiating power as a seller right now. If you get an offer and your home's been sitting on 30 days and you haven't had an offer and you finally get an offer, maybe you can counter something, but be realistic about that counter.
Yeah. I think you're either you're often going to be either dealing with lowering your price or offering incentives.
Right.
That's
So the next one is Polti, and they are for a limited time offering 3.99% interest rate for the first 7 years, which I think that's actually pretty good, because 7 years, hopefully things have kind of calmed down.
Yeah.
Again, all this is on quick move-in homes that close. This one says by the end of November, and you have to use their in-house lender, and for the most part, put 20% down.
Yeah, I like that. This one might be my favorite because it's the longer term. And as long as you don't forget, because I'm sure there's going to be a nice big payment after 7 years.
And they are also offering up to 6% towards closing costs.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's good. All your closing costs gets paid, because on a $600,000 home, your closing costs are going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
So let's say 600,000 times 3% traditional, 18,000. So if you can get the builder to cover 18,000, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? Now, the one community, and I did a video on that I've noticed, because they have so much standing inventory they need to get rid of, is called Talvona at Skye Hills, over in the new master plan community called Skye Hills. It's a single story community, and some of the homes, you are basically getting an upgraded home that has 100K in upgrades below the base price.
Yeah.
So you can get $60,000 to $100,000 below the total price of upgrades.
Yeah, and if they're throwing in all those other goodies, it starts to look really attractive.
I mean, it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's just a no-brainer. And that's why I've been heavily pushing new construction right now. The next builder is Century Communities. And Lock in an incredible 4.5% interest rate for a 30-year fixed FHA or VA loan when financing with their affiliated lender. And you only have to put down 3.5%
That's great.
and have a credit score of 640 or higher, or 4.875 on a conventional loan with only 10% down and a 720 credit score.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Now, Lennar, this one just ended. And of course, I looked on their website and there was no updates. They had an end of year sales event, which was really good. And that's the client I told you in the beginning of this video that we got a super awesome deal. But I'm not going to go over this because it's not pertinent right now.
Yeah.
I may update it in my website.
I'm sure they'll have something new they'll roll out.
I'm sure they will, for sure. So next builder is Richmond American. And I'm sorry I didn't go over DR Horton. Because DR Horton, if you know Express, their homes take 90 days to build. So they offer some incentives. But with Richmond American, from now until October 23rd or 31st, they're offering 4.875% financing. Again, using their in-house lender on a 30-year fixed rate. And then also for FHA and VA, or 5.5% on a 30-year conventional. So it seems like they're offering better rates for FHA and VA buyers.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they need it. Yeah.
Right. And basically you have to lock in the home by the end of October and close by the end of the year. So that is it for all the incentives that I'm aware of new construction across the Las Vegas Valley. If you know any other incentives, leave a comment down below.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, folks, what time is it? How long have we been? We're doing good. All we have left is the bet.
Yeah. All right.
I'm excited for this one.
Oh, yeah.
So every month, Rob and I do a bet, and we kind of hedge our bets and see who's going to, we try to predict what's going to happen the next month. So with that said, the medium sales price, Rob predicted that it would decrease by $12,500, which was an odd number that I thought you came up with. I said it was going to decrease by $15,000. It actually remained the same. So in reality, no one really won that bet because we were so far off.
I was closest too.
You were closest. So you technically kind of won that. The next bet was without offers. Rob said that there would be 8,500 single family homes listed without offers. I said 8,200. It was actually 8,121.
Good call.
So I finally won.
Yeah, that took a hell of a curveball, but she got it.
I got it. And the next one was months of supply. Rob said it was going to increase to 4.8 months. And said 4.3, and it remained at 4 months. So I finally won.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah,
it's been a couple months since I've won.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels good.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any, before we're going to make our predictions and then just sign off?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns before we sign off?
Yeah. What's happening in your minds?
All right. So predictions.
Yeah. What do you think?
All right. So median price, I'm going to think that it's only going to go down by 5,000.
All right. I'm going to go to 8,000.
Okay. Months of supply?
Months of supply. I think we will kick up. I'm
sorry, without offers. Let's do that one first.
Without offers, I'll just stick with 8,500.
Well, I think with the whole new construction thing, this is actually going to go up too. I'm going to do 8,600 and play the prices right. All right. So then months of supply, it's me. I'm going to go 4.5.
I'll stick with 4.8.
Okay. All right, folks.
Which is just prices writing you there, basically.
Yep, basically. All right. What does Danny Fee have to say?
Where is the bottom median price? I'd say 380K might take a year or two to find it. 380K would bring us back down to almost on the dot at where we were before 2020. So It would basically mean that what you're saying is that we would give back everything that we gained in 2 years. Now, on the worst end of things, I think that's about the worst that I could possibly say.
Yeah, and even if it does go to 380, ultimately, I think, like Rob said, we're just back to where we started in 2020, and then we can just continue to go back up. But it sucks for those people that bought in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Which, technically speaking, here is a smaller percentage of the buyers, and most of those people are still in a very strong personal position.
Because they have great interest rates. Yeah,
they bought in a strong position. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, when I look at that, I'd rather see that kind of situation than maybe on the other side of what we're, like where people weren't putting a lot of money down and were on the edge of where they could afford things, and then things happen. That would be tough.
I mean, everyone thought that. Yes, I mean, everyone thought it was going to be so drastic. You know what I mean? And it's not as drastic. It's a slow trickle. It's not as the ride was very high, fast, but I think the downfall is going to go slower than the ride up.
Yeah, the slide
from
back,
the train from the station is going to go down slower.
And at some point, there's still
we're going to balance.
There's still a lot of value as long as you're not seeing massive job losses where people can't afford their home and foreclosures and short sales and all the really just horror story stuff. Then I think our values stay pretty. It stays relatively strong so that it doesn't just the legs not getting kicked out from under it.
Right. The thing is, the people that bought in the last 2 years, as Rob mentioned, had a lot of cash involved. Either they were all cash or they put a huge chunk down. And a lot of them are in the tech industry or work from home, so they don't have to worry about, knock on wood, too much about unemployment.
I think many people too also bought for the long term. In other words, they weren't going to be moving anytime soon. So ideally, they can be people who can wait this out and regain their value over time. That's another thing. Vegas is a valley. It's filling up. It's still filling up fast. I just think the long term for Vegas is nothing but upward moving real estate prices. People that are going to immediately jump on the water thing are going to say differently. But I just to jump at that, I would say typically speaking, if there's millions of people involved in a problem, we get it solved. And I would certainly hope that would be the case.
Yeah. So typically, once the builders get rid of all of the standing inventory, quick move and spec home, it's going to be a traditional market where it's going to take, depending on the builder, some builders take longer than others, 6 to 10 months. Now, if it's a Toll Brothers, it's over a year.
Some of these things are going to start speeding up, though. They're not going to be as behind, and they're going to get hungry workers that are going to be ready to knock these things out.
Very true.
Much more quickly than they were before.
I had a client that bought, I don't know if I said this last market update, who bought a Toll Brothers home in Regency in June of last year. We're finally closing this year in October.
Wow.
And it's only a 2,000, maybe just slightly over 2,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous to take 16 months to build.
And just to put a cap on everything, I think when it comes to what we're seeing with the market changes, with basically the what am I trying to say? The market is resetting. It's not resetting. It's correcting because we had such a massive run up. Well, right now, what we're seeing is a controlled demolition of the market. It is literally one thing meeting with another thing, which was high prices and higher interest rates. When those two things met, that's what created the downward pressure and the correction. Okay, so until other things enter, other factors were to enter into this equation, that's all that's affecting us. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing. And the Fed is betting and hoping that is the case, that we have stability other than this, and that basically, some of the value can get sucked, some of the equity can get sucked out of the market, get us where we need to be as an overall economic picture, and then start getting back to a healthy sort of traditional market.
Right. And that's what we want. We want a balanced market. We're not greedy, aggressive real estate agents want it high and sell. When you're ready, you're ready. There was one question that says, I may have missed this, but any updates on supply for new builds, specifically on HVAC? The the new construction homes that I've been selling that have been closing last month, this month, have no issues with HVAC. I don't know who your builder is or what's going on.
Very be different. You know, if certain size units may be harder to get right now. Who knows?
Right.
Haven't heard any issues. I have one that's closing this month that did have a couple of small things along the way, but they got
my thing with the closings were mirrors and glass doors for the showers.
Yeah, there was like a bath surround on one of ours that was an issue.
But going forward, those issues are not going to be as a problem because
less demand.
Less demand, exactly.
The supply, that's kind of part of the deal, right?
Yeah, it's a controlled. And if we did not have this controlled interest rate, then obviously we wouldn't be in the position where we are now, and the prices will continue to go up. And I understand controlling that, preventing it from going up and up and up, but there's a certain degree.
It's called overheating, basically. Yes. We were basically at the point of overheating at the beginning of the year.
There is a limit. Jose's asking if there's a limit of how big you can build a pool in Vegas.
Yes.
Do you remember how big?
I can't remember how deep, but I think it depends on the width.
600 square feet.
Yeah, like the largest style pool, and then how much depth you can go and how much water that's in that pool. I'm not exactly sure of those numbers, but I know for sure it is limited. Yeah,
it is. There is a limit. Good question, guys.
You want a big pool that's deep, you got to get an older home.
Yes. Yes. Having pools are pros and cons, but you know what? We're going to end this on a high note and not go into further ado. Thank you guys for all your questions. We really appreciate them, like wholeheartedly. We love answering questions, and we will try to get on more often, at least twice a month instead of once a month. However, Rob is the tennis man. Always
I'm finally done with my tour duty. It was a year-long effort to get to where I went.
That's awesome.
Last 2 weeks.
That's awesome. Stay tuned to my YouTube channel, where again I'm posting everyday videos on new construction model homes, specifically only in the northwest side of the valley, North Las Vegas, and obviously, of course, Summerlin, because that's where I am area of expertise and where I like to sell. No offense if you live anywhere else in the valley. And then also stay tuned to neighborhood tours every Monday. They will be coming in November, where I'm going to do a drive-through tour of all the neighborhoods or master plan communities in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me.
600 square feet. Are you taking me out to lunch today?
I'm hungry.
All right.
I'm hungry.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, rock on.
And do it peacefully.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Woo-woo. Peace out.
All right. I have to